In this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through the ConDoc System heads-up display. Kind of explain the intent behind it and the problems that I hope it solves for you. I know it solves for me. And then, how to use it, but it won't be a deep dive. We'll kind of save that for some of the other videos I'm working on. So let's hop into SketchUp and I'll talk you through this. So first off, the ConDoc System heads-up display can be found by clicking on this button here on your ConDoc Express Tools toolbar. So if it's not open, you can click this button. Another way to get to it would be to go to the extensions drop down, ConDoc System like that. And of course, you can add a keyboard shortcut for it. So probably one of the most important things about the ConDoc System heads-up display, it's displaying which drawing set we're seeing. And so a drawing set in, a ConDoc drawing set essentially reprograms ConDoc with the tags, styles, and the drawings that you would need for a specific industry. So, this button here, I can click it, and then I can open up a drawing set from, our ConDoc Tools drawing sets folder. These are all installed, added to your system when you install the ConDoc Tools. So I would go with this Architect 5.4. That's going to be kind of my standard drawing set. Flex is going to be, more flexible and kind of work with any model and any tags, and then interiors, landscape, and all that. So I'm going to load the Architect 5.4 drawing set. And let's just kind of go down the list here. So once that drawing set is loaded, you see, which one is the active drawing set. And then you've got this reset button. So the reset button, that stems from my first book, and really one of the very first techniques I came up with were like these utility scenes. And so I would have like a design scene. And the design scene would not hold on to a camera view. It would just kind of turn shadows off, and it would pick a style that was lightweight. And that's what this reset button is doing, but it does a little bit more. So let's look at that. So like this design scene right here, when you click the reset button, that's going to kind of trigger or trip this design scene. Also, if I were to delete this design scene, whenever you hit the reset button, you can see it just jumped to the current or the next scene in line. When I hit reset, and I'll go look at my scenes dialog, you can see that it added a new design scene. So I'll just move that back up to the top here like that. All right, so now I'll scoot this over to the left. Okay, so you can see that when you click that reset button, it will create that design scene. The design scene does not hold on to camera location, top level, hidden geometry, hidden objects, visible text. It's only holding like which section planes are active, style and fog, shadow settings, and environment settings. Now, something you can do, let's just keep it to the ConDoc System. I've got to fight that tendency to, there's so much to share and to tell. Another video I'll tell you about kind of customizing that design scene. So that is the reset button. Also keep in mind that like when you hit it once, it's going to kind of trip that. And if you hit it again, it's going to do a zoom extents. So like if I were to go in here and I were to turn a tag off, all right, so I'll like just start turning off some tags, and you can see that my reset button turns red. It lets me know that like that some of the tags have been modified. So I'll hit reset. So then that's going to bring all my tags back to good, and then I can hit reset again, and that's going to do a zoom extents like that. Okay, so let's keep kind of chipping away. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on my the knowledge base article, where this is, and the idea is I'm just going to kind of talk through for those of you who just would rather be shown and not read. So we're going to talk about our tags applied to a selection. So like if I select this window, the ConDoc system is going to show me the level, element, location, and condition tags assigned. So I'll open up my ConDoc tags dialog. That's another button over here. We'll get to that in a moment. But you can see it's kind of telling you the same thing. But up here, it's showing us, just kind of a display, just letting us know so that we don't have to have this ConDoc tags dialog open. You can kind of see what it is. And as I add tags to it, which you wouldn't really want to do that, have multiple elements, but you can see that they'll show up there. Cool. That one's pretty straightforward. We talked about loading a drawing set, and let's talk about the ConDoc configurator. So the configurator is really the brains, and I mean it's a super powerful tool. And I forget, we came out with a configurator in version 4, and I literally spent like a year and a half sorting this out and testing it and getting it to a point where it was really rock solid. And I'm pretty proud of where it is now. I'm not sure how many people are actually using it to reconfigure their drawing sets, but I will tell you this, that when I see custom drawing set, I definitely get excited. I'm always happy to chat with you about it and kind of help you refine it and go further with it. So don't hesitate to reach out if you're digging in on this stuff. So let's look at the configurator. That's going to be this button here up on the ConDoc system. And the configurator, just a few quick notes. It's kind of a big dialogue. Whenever I'm working on these guys, like I would slide it over here to this full screen. And then if I hold shift, I can roll it horizontally. This way you can really get like kind of the full view. And the configurator is where you build the brains of ConDoc. And so, something like a construction plan is going to be probably the easiest to understand. You can open up different viewports, and they're showing up over here on this screen like that. And so these are going to be all the different scenes that are created for that construction plan. And then, they're going to stack like from left to right. The hatches go on the bottom, light on top. And you can see you can choose styles, line weights, layout render settings. All this stuff has all been thought out for you. So I created the architect drawing set, with all of this thought through. But if you want to make changes to it, like thin out the line weights, add tags, add a different drawing, like maybe you want to add, the example I always use is like an appliance tag. You can do that. Like if you just want to have a place for appliances and maybe you want to make an appliance plan, you can do that. All right, so we won't go full in on this in this tutorial, but that's kind of the general idea, adding tags with your ConDoc tags here. The configurator allows you to completely reconfigure ConDoc and make it your own. And that's going to be accessible through the ConDoc system. And as you make changes to the drawing set, that's really showing up in the ConDoc system. That's why we put it there. Okay, up next is going to be our project settings. All right, so project setup. That's going to be this little red house. So we have our load drawing set, we have kind of modify the drawing set with the configurator, and then we have our project setup. This is where we're going to choose how many levels are in our project. And so, you can just choose how many, whether there's a basement or not, and then where those finished floor heights are set. So the way that ConDoc uses levels, think about like if you have a construction plan, well, you're going to want a construction plan for every level. And so if there's one level or if there's 3 levels, we'll say, it's going to create a construction plan for each level, level 1, 2, 3, or for the basement as well. So that's the idea here. And then when it comes to the finished floor heights, these are kind of rough, rough estimates. Like they don't have to be absolutely precise, but I usually do. But they're measured from the origin. So when you're entering your finished floor heights, it's always a good idea to right click on an axis and make sure that the reset is grayed out. And then I can tell you that if you were to use your tape measure tool and then click on the origin, tap the up arrow key, and then I'm just going to orbit in here while I'm measuring. And you can see that, it's 5 3/8. So, level 1 is technically at 5 space 3/8 inches, like that. But in my opinion, I would just call it 6 inches and move on from there, because it's all we're doing is when we drop the section cut for each plan, we're just measuring 6 inches up off the origin for level 1. And then based on the settings in the configurator, we're going to jump up 4 feet to cut that plan. So we're just, all of this can be modified, like once you create the plans, you could adjust your section plane, but it's kind of nice just to get it close. Let me go back to the configurator for a moment. In the configurator, if I look at the construction plan and just kind of talk about what we're working with here, this is a plan, construction plan, normal view, and it's using all levels. So the construction plan is going to have all levels set in the project setup. So that would be one kind of nod back to the configurator. And then also, if I were to open like this heavy viewport here and check out this section plane height. So it's set to 4 feet. So kind of the default settings in ConDoc are that the section plane heights jump 4 feet off the finished floor level. So that's where that number's coming in. You can adjust it if you like. So you could, if you like to cut your plans 5 feet above finished floor, you could change that. 4 feet's good enough, and honestly, most of the time, I like to just run the plan generator, go look at my plans, and then manually adjust those anyways. So it's kind of how all these are playing together a bit here. Okay, this one's an easy one, is our support page. So I'll click that button, and that's going to open up our support page. This links you to the knowledge base, opening a ticket, forum, office hours, 3D helpline, all that. Okay, check out the knowledge base. I've been doing a ton of work on this recently, and it's getting a lot better and a lot closer. So hopefully, when you're watching this, we'll be even further down the line. But I've got all the courses migrated over here, a lot of new articles, and the benefit here is that you can ask our chatbot, Mikey. You can ask questions like, how do I set finished floor heights, like that. And this AI chatbot is pretty good. I mean, to set the finished floor heights, go to the project setup or project settings dialog. That's not quite right, but enter the desired heights for each level. But it got it right, project setup. And then, ConDoc System overview, it's linking us back there. And so, it's pretty decent, I would say. I was really impressed with the way that chatbot worked. So, I've really invested a lot of time in the knowledge base. So, when in doubt, try that chatbot. It's really impressive that it actually knows about ConDoc, so you can ask it very advanced questions. All right. Up next, let's go to, I'm going to keep scrolling down. So let's talk about tag states. So, kind of working around the ConDoc system here, tag states are really, really powerful. So let me hit reset again, do a zoom extents, and just kind of back out here. And then you can see that there's level tag states, element tag states, condition tag states, and then there's like 2D, 3D, and then I said level, and then these are location. These are elements. So levels maybe I will open a different project for this, and I'm going to go into, ConDoc, V5, resources, and these models, everything I'm using would be available on the extension warehouse. Okay, this is just kind of a good easy one. All right, so like you can do level 1, level 2, all levels like that. All this is doing, it's toggling between level 1 and level 2. But it's keeping you out of the tags dialog, because whenever you are fishing around for these little eyeballs here, it's just pulling your eyes off the design. So you hit reset, and you go like level 1, okay? And then you want to toggle interior rather than exterior. And then you'll see what that location tag state is doing is it's going with, here's our interior, here's our exterior, context, and site. So exterior, site, context, all. So you can toggle between those. And then new, existing, and demolished, those tag states are a little bit muddy. Actually, let me look at how do we handle this in the article. Basically, like existing plus new is going to equal your proposed design. So existing to remain in conjunction with your proposed or new geometry is going to equal your proposed design. The demo visible, demolished entities visible plus existing entities visible is going to equal your existing conditions. And then there's like demo only, new only, exist only. That just kind of helps you kind of piece through what you're looking at. This is a new construction project, so we don't really have that going on, but a little more advanced there. So, and then, so like that, we covered that. And then this 2D, 3D, again, these are just tag states. This is kind of like a nod back to like layer states in CAD. So you've got like 2D and 3D, and so you got 2D, 3D, 2D, 3D. You can see that tag is jumping around. And something like, let me go with level 2. Those windows, actually everything in here is based on, this model's been updated, I believe, to use flex tools. So let me open another project. Actually, I'll open up this Ivy Street is a good one. And I will hit reset. And now we can do like 3D, 2D. All right, so like here's the 2D version. You can see like 2D window here, 2D door, and then you get your 3D. All right, so 2D graphics, 3D objects, that's how we kind of force a look. And also, something like a door that is not going to look right in plan. It's not going to net like, let me show my, let's go with like F7, yeah. Oh man, let's see. Like a toilet would be a good example, all right? So let me turn off that X-ray mode. So you got like 2D, that gives your 2D symbol, and we can see our door here as well. And then 3D is the 3D geometry. Now, I can tell you that not only does a 2D graphic and a 3D object force the proper 2D representation, but it's also going to like take the load off a layout, so that layout doesn't have to flatten this whole thing, this whole toilet. It just has to render, instead of flattening all those surfaces, thousands of them, it's just going to show the line work that you've generated. So you can really be clever with that. And when it comes to what the ConDoc system is doing, that helps you kind of sort through, what's 2D, what's 3D. I can hit reset, get out of there like that. Okay, and then all elements off is a way to kind of get all of the elements turned off. And then you can see that this site has not been tagged. So you know, that's where things are just gonna not work right. These are demo models, so, but that's fine. You know, it hasn't been tagged. It just turns all of our element tags off. And then you can easily go back in and say like, well, I want to turn certain things on like that, you know, so different elements. You can hit reset and that's going to bring everything back to good. And so you could have all elements off or all elements on, and you can see that everything's toggling over there. Another comment about the configurator will be over here. I still have it open. And so we can go to our ConDoc System configuration. This is a piece of the configurator. And you can see that, you know, you define which tags are existing, proposed, demolished. And then also you can set your tag prefixes. So if you want to change level, element, location, condition, or ConDoc, you can change those prefixes. And the reason I mention this here is because that is really what's kind of syncing up with these different buttons here. So like when it comes to all elements off, you know, ConDoc is just looking for any tag that's prefixed with, you know, all caps element underscore, you know, that's the prefix. So that's how we look for those. So you can kind of tinker with that and, you know, come up with custom solutions there too. Okay, then kind of one of the last pieces here is going to be our second to last is going to be our utility styles, and this came from my book. So like orient faces, this is definitely of value. Orient faces will show you. All this is doing is setting a color by face. Yeah. Whether it's the front or the back. And if I look at what this style is doing, you can see that the front is pink and the back is green. That's all. That's all it's doing. And that way you could go in and say like, if you're, this is valuable for like photorealistic rendering. So you could go in here and say like, yeah, this, if I were doing like a photoreal rendering, these faces might need to be reversed, because they might not show up the way I want them to show up. Let me deselect that one. There you go. So that way, you know, you can really see clearly what's showing you the back. Sometimes the back surface just renders as invisible. So, and then you've got axis check. This one's really valuable. It's going to color all of your edges based on which axis they align with. So, you know, ideally pretty quickly you'd be able to see, you know, hey, what's up here? This kind of looks like it's not on axis. I'm not terribly concerned about it, but, you know, when it comes to walls, doors, windows, and all that, you want it to be on axis. But, you know, something like this fence, you know, it's just kind of a quick representation. It doesn't need to be perfect. So that's axis check. The scope diagram is very likely going to go away. The scope diagram, what I was doing with that back in the day was, this is a color by layer, color by tag style. And so what I did is I would have like new is green, existing is gray, and demolished, I think it was orange, something like that. And it was cool when you were using SketchUp tags, it would actually color your model by tag. But when we created the ConDoc tags, this functionality it doesn't work with our ConDoc tags. Unfortunately, but you know, not a huge deal. I mean, it's not like the most critical piece of the puzzle here, but I can show you that this is a color by layer, and that setting is color by tag right here. You can see it's a legacy because it's called color by layer. So I created that a long time ago. And then you can see that like demolished was orange, existing is gray, and new is green. But when you're using ConDoc tags, it just simply doesn't work. Yeah, I needed to actually reload that ConDoc system to see it work. Cool. Okay, so that's the idea, is that our let's see, that's our scope diagram, and then you get back to design. And whenever you're tinkering with all this stuff, you could be messing around in here, doing all kinds of things, choosing different levels, kind of slicing and dicing this model in all these different ways. Just know that you just hit reset. Reset's going to get you back to good. It's going to bring everything back to where you want it. All right. And then finally, our grid shifts. These are actually really nice. I'm going to go back to a different model. Let's just pick something a little bit. We'll go back to our ADU like that. And I'll show you what's going on here. I'm going to hit reset. And then when I hit the grid shift, watch what happens to my axes. It's going to go 15, and then 22, and then 45, and then back to 0. So you can easily click around in here. And, if I were drawing rectangles, and then let's say that like I wanted to shift, and now I want to draw at 15, and then shift again, and then shift again, like that. You can have those grid shifts, and then you can even check them by like your axis check here, and see how those start to play together. Pretty slick, right? And then again, make sure over here in your ConDoc system configuration, this is where you can define your grid shifts. One thing you might want to do over here would be like, I've done this before, like, I don't know, how many grid shifts do you really need? I've done like 0, 45, 0, 45. I've done something like that. And that way it's just going to shift from 0 to 45 like that, but whatever, if you have some kind of like unique angle to your project, you want to set up your axes to align like that, and then get it set up on your grid shift, so you don't have to keep inferencing or changing your sketching context. The idea with that too is if you were to right click on your axis and then choose move, you can rotate it about the blue, and you could do 22.5 and say okay. So that's what the grid shifts are doing. It's just spinning your axes at a defined distance. Okay, I'm gonna hit reset, and then I'm gonna get rid of all this stuff over here like that. And then kind of the last piece of this puzzle is our ConDoc tags. We talked a little bit about that, but I'll have another article and video dedicated specifically to this. But yeah, you can open your ConDoc tags by clicking on this dialog. You can also open them from here, and whenever you select an entity, the applied tags are going to show up, and it's super easy just to say, oh no, that's a wall, not trim. The idea is I'm keeping you out of the entity info dialog. I don't want you to have to hit this drop down. I don't want you to have to, I don't want you to be in the entity info dialog hitting the drop down. I don't want you to have to nest groups, and I don't want you to have to be fishing around in the in the SketchUp tags dialog looking for visibility. So that's really what the ConDoc system heads-up display is all about, and what ConDoc is all about. Just automating and making things kind of more predictable, less prone to error, and all that. So I think that's a pretty solid overview of our ConDoc system heads-up display. Don't hesitate to reach out. This is my full-time gig over here. I appreciate you being a customer, a subscriber. So if something's not working the way you want it to, let's sort that out. And don't hesitate to give me a call or schedule a meeting or shoot me an email. I'll be here. I'll talk soon. Thanks.